This is LRV Aquatics, and you're watching Michigan Tropicals.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Michael of Michigan Tropicals, and here is how I build my racks for all my stands and all my tanks. I even build them for big tanks this way, very similar anyways. So I'm going to show you how I do it. Okay, so first off, what I do is I take all my legs and I just stack them all like this. I prefer to stand them up on a flat surface so they're all the same length, which these guys are not just yet. So that way all of the bottoms are the same length. And then I just use a wood clamp and I clamp them together so that way they don't move. And I'll do that in a couple different spots. Let me do that real quick and I will show you what it looks like. Okay, as you see, I have them standing up. The bottom is not perfect yet, but the middle is. I use the clamp as a straight edge to get them all lined up. I'll do a clamp at the top. I'll do a clamp at the bottom. Then I will get all my marks laid out for where I want my racks to begin. So let me get these guys clamped up and we'll get them put on the floor and I will show you how to mark it out. Alright, and as we see here, everything's laid out and clamped nice and square. And everything's flat, so all the boards are nice and level with the ground. They're also squared out, clamped nice and tight. So now what I'll do is I have a paper here that shows my dimensions and what I need to cut my legs. So what I'll do now is I'll determine top and bottom. And what I mean by that is a lot of manufactured wood is not perfect. So if you look, even knowing these are all square, you can see they're not perfect. This is not me, this is them. Because when you look at the bottom, it's in reverse. This is an angle cut. So what I'll do is I'll determine what's the fastest and easy way to make them level. Is it to just sand it down really quick or recut the boards, which these aren't too terribly bad, so I can sand these really quickly with no issue. But always check your factory cuts because they are not perfect. So I've got my numbers here for my shelf, for all my shelves. So this is 8 inches from the ground, 11.5 at the top of that support, 32 inches from the ground, 35.5 for that support, 56 from the ground, 59.5 to the top of that support, 80 from the ground, 83.5 to the top of that support. So I'll get these guys marked and then I'll show you the cutting process. Okay, we got all of our measurements laid out. As you can see here, we're roughly 8 inches from the bottom. Then we've got a mark like this, that, and this will all determine on how you want to build your rack. But what I always like to do while building this rack is double check the measurements by having a chunk of extra 2x4 laying around that you can actually kind of gauge off of to make sure that this 2x4 is going to fit, because we're going to cut these legs. These are going to be the legs. We're going to cut these legs down the depth of a 2x4. So something like that. So this 2x4, once this is cut out, will recess into this. Just, let me see, right here. Just like this. Whoa. So it will recess down in. So this is a leg right here, and it is cut out a C-notch right here. So that's the way I build all my stands, so that way the weight is proportionate over the stand. This one we were not able to do it because the 2x4s were not long enough, just because of the span, but I did do it on the ends. And I did add some extra support within the bottom under here. I don't like to do it this way, but this is the only way we had. And they're only 20 gallons, so there's not a ridiculous amount of weight like a big 180 or 400, or see, I even did it on these little 25 gallon racks. So I kind of do it everywhere just to make sure everything's nice and strong. Got their lights off because they were freaking out earlier. There's a little sneak peek of the 400. There's Toby. We got some new inhabitants down here. Got some nice big alligator gar. They're over 2 feet long. Got those guys on sale. Let's get back to the rack. Alright, as we have our portable workbench here. Do as I say, not as I do. It'd be nice to have a nice sturdy bench to do this on, but this is all we have to work with. So now that I'm set up, I'll show you how to depth the saw and get to cutting. Okay, so not sure how well you're going to be able to see this, but what I do is I take my 2x4. Let me actually lean you up a little bit more. Alright, so what I do is I take a scrap piece of 2x4. This is unplugged, so open up the safety. 2x4, so we're way too deep. So reset this. Is it already open? Oh, it's already open. So we'll reset this. Look at that. Almost. That's perfect. So we'll set it the depth that it only cuts the 2x4 thickness. Show you the next step. Okay, the next step would insist of cutting on this line and this line. I always watch my blade thickness and run my edge of my blade right on the line and take the line off with the edge of the blade on the inside. Then what I'll do is, it doesn't have to be perfect, just make a whole bunch of cuts, maybe like 6 of them or so, 7 of them. Once you've got cuts like that, you can literally pop the pieces out and clean it up, and you should be good. Let me get this part done and I'll show you. Alright, and as it starts to rain, I'll have to hurry this process up a little bit. One thing that I did forget to mention is to make sure that your blade is level when you start. It's square, I shall say, because it was not 100% square, but that's fine. This rack is only for 10 gallons, so it doesn't need to be crazy strong. It probably doesn't even need this, but I'm doing it anyways. So now that I've made a bunch of cuts, literally, that's all you have to do. It's just a couple taps, just like that, and it knocks them all loose. And you can just take the chips out, like so. Very simple, easy, quick. Get these all knocked loose. Alright, we'll get this part done and I'll show you how I smooth it out. Alright, so what I did, because you can use a chisel doing this, but what I did was just glided the circular saw left to right to clean these nubs off. Some of them aren't completely gone, but some of them are also deeper than others, so this is going to be more than good. I already checked it with my 2x4 little piece that I had, my little sample piece. Everything's good, so now it's to get this thing stood up and get the actual shelving boards put in. I will note that if your tail, or sorry, your feet and your head are close to the same dimensions and you want a specific height, to put an arrow on the inside facing up on all of these. What I do is I always use one side for the front and one side for the back. So this is a 3-footed shelf, so I use these 3 for the front these 3 for the back. I'll get it stood up and we'll check it out.